Uncovering the truth about AI racism and gender bias. What can we do? AI is increasingly becoming more integrated into our lives, and its potential effects go far beyond technology. Even though AI is a powerful tool, it is still vulnerable to implicit biases that pervade all aspects of life. This is why it's vital to be aware of the possibility of racism and gender bias in AI. In this article, we will focus on what AI bias is, how it can manifest itself, and what we can do to combat it. Introduction to AI racism and gender bias. AI is becoming more commonplace in our daily experiences, from facial identification utilized by police to the algorithms that determine online search results. While these technologies have the possibility of being helpful resources, there is a concern that they may also implant prejudice and favoritism into our judgments. Artificial intelligence systems can be programmed to display racism and gender bias in different ways, from obvious to more subtle forms. In some cases, such prejudice can result in disparate treatment of certain individuals and groups, while in other cases, it may lead to outcomes that unfairly favor certain demographics. To ensure the safe and responsible use of AI technology, it is essential that we are aware of the dangers of AI racism and gender bias. If we want to make sure AI technology is being utilized responsibly and safely, we must become aware of the dangers of AI racism and gender bias. This comprises realizing the prospect for prejudice in both the data used to train AI algorithms and in the algorithms themselves. We must also comprehend the ways AI racism and gender bias can be evident in human populations, as well as their potential effects on people, communities, and nations. Once we have a clearer understanding of AI racism and gender bias, we can strive to combat it and make sure that AI technology is being used acceptably. In this article, we will discuss what AI racism and gender bias is, how it works, and how we can fight it. What is AI? AI is an essential field that experiments with computer science and data to solve issues. It is usually discussed in reference to deep learning and natural language processing. AI attempts to replicate human intelligence with the help of technology, primarily computers. Applications of AI are comprised of expert systems, speech recognition, natural language understanding, and machine vision. AI comes in two forms. Weak AI, also known as narrow AI, is a system used to fulfill a specific purpose. Automated industrial robots and personal assistants such as Siri are classified under this type of AI. Strong AI, also referred to as artificial general intelligence, AGI, is a more advanced program that can mimic human thinking. This type of AI is much closer to the type of computing power found in the human brain. The significance of AI technology lies in its ability to give companies access to revelatory insights which may have previously been inaccessible. Artificial intelligence tools can outperform humans in certain tasks, especially those that involve a high level of detail and repetition, like gauging through large databases of legal paperwork. The discussion of artificial intelligence began with Alan Turing's pioneering work, Computing Machinery and Intelligence, which was released in 1950. Artificial general intelligence, or AGI, however, still remains a concept from science fiction. Some coders are trying to make AGI a reality, exploring potential solutions such as quantum computing. Using AI, however, is not without its drawbacks. AI can be expensive to implement, requires a large amount of technical expertise and a limited number of qualified personnel to build the software. Additionally, AI is only able to do what it has been taught. It cannot generalize from one task to another. Grosjean also warned that AI is not a cure-all. We have to have realistic expectations of what it can do for us. How does AI become racist or sexist? It is important to analyze the experiments done by researchers in order to comprehend how AI can become prejudiced and partial. In a trial, robots were given a prominent AI algorithm and asked to arrange blocks with faces on them and put the criminal in a box. Unsurprisingly, the robots continually chose a block with a black man's face, showing prejudice despite the fact that it was not purposely built into the algorithm. This experiment proves that AI can be discriminatory even though it wasn't meant to be. This is because AI algorithms are often built with datasets that contain inherent biases. For example, a dataset used to teach a facial recognition system may have more photos of white people than people of color, making the AI more skilled at recognizing white faces than those of people of color. What's more, AI models used to make decisions such as hiring can also include prejudice. For instance, if an AI is trained to link terms like stay-at-home parent or cleaning personnel to females and people of color, this could result in an algorithm that is more likely to deny them job opportunities. AI discrimination examples. In October 2019, researchers found that an algorithm used on more than 200 million people in U.S. hospitals to predict which patients would likely need extra medical care heavily favored white patients over black patients. This is a prime example of how AI bias can lead to discrimination and unfair outcomes in the healthcare system. Another example of AI bias is the COMPAS algorithm used in criminal justice systems to predict the likelihood of recidivism for defendants. Since the data used in the process of creating the algorithm overall was flawed, the model predicted twice as many false positives for recidivism for black offenders, 45%, than white offenders, 23%. This algorithm has been widely criticized for its bias and discriminatory outcomes. Finally, Amazon's hiring algorithm is a third example of AI bias in action. Amazon created an algorithm to automatically screen job applications, but it was found to be biased against women. The algorithm reportedly down-ranked resumes that contained words associated with women, such as women's, children, and family. Amazon had to shut down the algorithm after it was discovered that it was biased against women. Another example is an AI tool trained on medical images, like X-rays and CT scans, which was unexpectedly able to discern patients' self-reported race. This technology's ability to tell patients' race, even when their doctor cannot, could be abused in the future, or unintentionally direct worse care to communities of color without detection or intervention. These examples demonstrate the dangers of AI bias and how this bias can lead to discrimination and unfair outcomes. It's critical that companies are aware of the potential for bias in their AI systems and take steps to address it. How to avoid bias in AI systems? To address these issues, the FDA recently issued guidance significantly broadening the scope of the tools it plans to regulate. Additionally, doctors are moving away from algorithms with racial bias, such as using new equations to estimate glomerular filtration rate, EGFR, that do not include race. Furthermore, strategies to address bias in algorithms have also been proposed, such as including fairness constraints when training AI models, as well as incorporating approaches such as differential privacy to protect patient privacy and data. Overall, while AI holds great promise in healthcare, it is crucial to ensure that the tools we use do not perpetuate or amplify existing inequalities. Through research, transparency and regulation, we can move toward a future of equitable and accessible healthcare. Analyzing the impact of AI racism and gender bias. AI racism and gender bias can have a huge impact on how technology systems are used in our everyday lives. We often assume that machines are neutral, but research has revealed large gender and racial bias in AI systems sold by tech giants like IBM, Microsoft and Amazon. For example, when asked to guess the gender of a face, all companies performed substantially better on male faces than female faces. The error rates for lighter-skinned men were no more than 1%, while the error rates for darker-skinned women soared to 35%. This kind of bias is due to the underrepresentation of women and people of color in technology and the undersampling of these groups in the data that shapes AI. At 8 large tech companies evaluated by Bloomberg, only around a fifth of the technical workforce at each are women, while less than 2% of employees in technical roles at Facebook and Google are black. This means AI systems are optimized for a small portion of the world and can lead to discriminatory or exclusionary practices. Issues of bias in AI tend to most adversely affect the people who are rarely in positions to develop technology. There are numerous headlines highlighting tales of failed machine learning systems that amplify, rather than rectify, sexist hiring practices, racist criminal justice procedures, predatory advertising, and the spread of false information. This is why it's so important to analyze the impact of AI racism and gender bias, and take steps to ensure that AI systems are developed in an ethical way. Mitigating AI bias and error. Mitigating AI bias and error is an important step in ensuring fairness and equity with the use of AI. Understanding the potential for AI bias means recognizing that supervised learning, one of the subsets of AI, operates on rote ingestion of data. Increasing transparency is also crucial when it comes to mitigating AI bias and error. Since AI processes are often inscrutable, it is important to make sure that the algorithms and the data used to train them are open and accessible to the public. This will help to ensure that the algorithms are not being used for discriminatory or unethical purposes. Implementing standards for the development and deployment of AI models is another way to ensure that bias is prevented and errors are minimized. Adopting a standard set of rules and guidelines for AI developers will help to ensure that their models are fair and ethical. Testing models before and after deployment is another way to mitigate AI bias and error. Before deploying an AI model, it should be tested to ensure that it is working as intended and that it is not exhibiting any bias. After deployment, the model should continue to be monitored to make sure that it is performing correctly and that any errors or biases are quickly addressed. Finally, using synthetic data is an important way to prevent AI bias and error. Synthetic data is generated data that is similar to real-world data, but without any of the biases that may exist in real-world data. By using synthetic data, AI models can be trained to be more accurate and less prone to bias. By understanding the potential for AI bias, increasing transparency, instituting standards, testing models before and after deployment, and using synthetic data, we can ensure that AI models are fair and ethical. Implementing these strategies can help to ensure that AI is used responsibly and that it does not perpetuate discrimination or oppression. Conclusion: AI has the potential to bring enormous benefits, such as providing accurate health information and helping students make up for lost exam time. However, when used incorrectly, it can have devastating consequences. African American people are particularly vulnerable to AI-driven racism and gender bias, while low-income students can be penalized due to the track record of their schools. To prevent this, high-quality data must be used and well-trained data scientists need to be involved in the development and deployment of AI tools. In addition, people can organize to protest against the dangerous use of the technology, and initiatives like the Safe Face Pledge can help mitigate its abuse. Finally, it is essential to incorporate broader representation in the design, development, deployment, and governance of AI to ensure it is used responsibly.